How would you even get started automating your business? Now, I'm going to talk about this from the aspect of using Apparel Magic's ERP system, but honestly, you can be using anything under the sun. As you start to think about automating your business, whether it's an apparel-based business or gear or online books or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. We're going to walk through some basic pieces that will help you start thinking about the smaller pieces to put in place. So we're thinking about this like a jigsaw puzzle, but it's not it's not a 1,000-piece puzzle, at least not yet. It's more like a 20-piece puzzle or a 10-piece puzzle. We're going to put together some blocks that very easily fit together, and let's walk through this. Here I've got a Visio diagram up. As you think about your business and the flow, you want to start with the very most basic nuts and bolts that make things work. We don't want to get down into the minutia, into the nitty-gritty just yet. We want to think about, from a very high level picture, what should be happening in your organization, especially if you're a sales-based organization. This is going to look totally different. If you're service-based, this is going to look totally different than what I'm mapping out here. Primarily, I'm looking at a sales-based organization. And let's walk through step by step what automation might look like for you. First, we have an incoming order. That order comes from somewhere. Doesn't matter. We don't need to label it Shopify, or we don't need to label it that it's Etsy or whatever it is. It does not matter at this point. All we want to do is identify that that is an action that happens. What is next in the process? And let me tell you why this is so important to walk through it this way. If you start to just get down into the minutia and start saying, well, this process involves this and this and this and this, and you start tying these things off, you're committing yourselves to things that are legacy processes that you've been using as you're trying to think at the same time, think forward to where you want to be. So we're just thinking, where do we want to be, and what is the process that exists right now at the very most high level? So an order comes in. Let's say the order is allocated. Okay, that is a system process. Now, maybe your ERP system doesn't refer to it as allocation, and that's okay. Allocation basically means that in the back end somewhere, you're saying, I have some quantity of this that I want to attribute to this order. So we've got the order came in, and then now we're saying, all right, I'm going to now take from my warehouse and allocate this amount of units. So if this if this incoming order is 5 units, then this allocation is probably going to be 5. Unless you've oversold yourself. And that's another thing automation can help you with is making sure that you don't get oversold on product. So you've got your incoming order. Now you've got to be able to take out of your warehouse some amount of units. Now we might attach on here that there's a warehouse that this is talking to and all of that. Look, we just want to think at the very most high level. So order is allocated. And then what happens? Well, the order is picked. Now, this is a digital process inside like an Apparel Magic. This is a digital process, which is basically saying, now it's allocated. I am now confirming that that allocation is going to apply to this order in this quantity. And I'm creating now what's called a pick ticket, which is probably something that you're going to hand off to your pick team in your warehouse and say, hey, guys, go do this. And you're going to give them a slip of paper, and it has exactly on it what needs to go in the box and then go out the door. And that is basically that process, right? So you're going to pick that order. And so we're talking about this pick process, but there's an order is picked. And let's add something here. Let's add the word digitally, right? So this happens in the system. Order is also picked digitally. So now this turns the order basically into a pick ticket. Typically, you're going to have an order number. So let's say also over here, let's say order number. So we've got an order that came in with an order number. It is allocated digitally Doesn't matter who does the task right now. We're just thinking about this from a high level. And then the order is picked digitally. But then probably you're going to do something with that, right? You're probably going to say, okay, so that was digitally picked. Let's make this a little bit bigger on the screen. So now that order is digitally picked, and now what happens to it? Now it's going to be physically picked, right? There's going to be some step here that's probably going to turn that into either a piece of paper or something, might be electronic, that somebody is now going to take action on. So let's say now the pick ticket is picked. Now this is the physical action. So we've turned it here from an order into a pick ticket, and now that pick ticket does something. It creates a set of actions that somebody in probably your warehouse team is going to do. Okay, so that's physical. And now what happens? Now let's think again at the most high level, and then we're going to add a little nuance here in a little bit. So then let's say after it is picked, let's say there is some quality assurance that step that happens, right? That says basically is the order picked, or is the pick ticket picked correctly? Maybe there's some spot check that you have in your high level process. And then you might say, okay, yes, it is. And let's say here, let's say, okay, it goes to shipping. All right. Now all we're going to do is just draw some arrows between these boxes. And then we're going to make some modifications here in a second. So let's do that. And if you don't use Visio, man, it is a great tool for stuff like this. So if you have Office 365 and haven't been using Visio, you need to get on it because it's awesome. All right. So here we've got a very basic process outlined. And now these are the biggest pieces of the puzzle. We want to get the incoming order out to shipping. Now, I know there's other processes here, like, well, what happens with a return? Somebody calls up and they make a return, and what's that process? Don't worry about that right now. Just think about your warehouse process at the most high level, and you might have things that are different here than I have them outlined, and that is totally cool. That's just fine. But I'm just trying to think about the most basic process steps. Okay, so this order is picked physically. Maybe your business offers some customization. Well, we haven't even gotten there. So maybe that's an embroidery, maybe that's screen printing, something that happens. So we might do a block here. Let's do a decision block. Let's see if I've got one here. Okay, so it's picked physically, but then let's say, all right, this is not right. We're going to come over here and we're going to determine if this order is customized. So if the order is customized, they picked it, they put it all together, they've got it maybe ready for customization because maybe it needs a screen print. Then it's here, ready to go, and then maybe that printing needs to happen, and that's the next step. So let's just call this step production. I'm going to copy this block, and let's say over here, let's just do this, and let's call this production. Super easy. I know this is super basic. I hope you're following this just fine. So, but even though it's basic, it is super practical to do because it helps you keep an eye on the end goal rather than to get caught up in the minutia. All right, so we've got this order came in physically. Is it customized? Well, let's say yes, it goes to production. And then let's say no, it just goes to QA. And let's put a no here. There we go. So this order is customized. It goes to that production step. The screen print gets added to it, whatever it is, and then it comes over here to QA. We might say this, is it picked / produced correctly? Might be different. You might have a QA team that's just for customizations. So you might have a QA team over here, and in which case you would just have a block here that said QA, and then you'd send it to shipping. Maybe you wouldn't send it to this block if it was through production. Maybe this is kind of like a different QA lane here. Or quality, QA, quality assurance, QC, quality check, whatever your nomenclature is in your business. That is it. We're thinking about our business at a high level now, which this will free up our minds to now figure out what we can automate. I would highly encourage you to take the time to do this at a very basic level at your business, and the result will be you will be able to now start digging into each of these blocks a little bit deeper and put a little bit more nuance, a little bit more detail on each step that is involved in your business so that you can automate things down the road. My name's Dana. I thank you for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to help you tackle them. You can reach out to me, dana@itpath.net, or you can leave a comment on the video. Thank you very much.